Hey guys, Julian here, and today I'm going to be talking to you about how to make melodic techno melodies in the style of Stefan Bodzin, Taylor Voss, sort of like the Afterlife type of sound, a lot of other artists in that style. But yeah, I'm not going to be giving away any samples or selling any sample packs or any free follow to download things or anything like that today. I'm just going to be breaking down some techniques I've learned from listening to these tracks and writing these tracks on my own. So I got a little synth sound here. And yeah, so the first thing that we're going to talk about is the key that you're in. You almost always want to write these tracks in a minor key. And if you're using a major key, usually it's the relative major of the sort of like minor feeling that you've already established in your track. So to illustrate this, I'll show you what I mean. Here is, I'll just go up an F minor chord, right? We'll go F, G sharp, so the root note, the minor third, and then the fifth. These are the three notes that are common to every single minor chord, no matter what you put on top of it. And then maybe we'll add in like this one note here, this C sharp. So you can hear right off the bat, just 4 notes. Already, just by doing that, we've got that kind of vibe to it, right? You know, it sounds like one of these kinds of tracks. And so if I switch this to a major key, let's put the minor third up to a major third, and then we will put this C sharp up to E. That's a cool vibe, but it really doesn't sound like an Afterlife style track to me, like I said. Like, this just doesn't really sound like that. And this is something that I hear a lot when people, especially beginners, like if you're somebody who knows what you're doing with this is probably pretty obvious. But if you're a beginner, this is actually a pretty big revelation in most cases. In my case, it definitely was. Like, this just doesn't really sound like it. And I hear people send me tracks that sound like this, or I hear tracks where they do stuff like this when they're trying to make it kind of like that vibe. And like I said, it just kind of throws it off. It just doesn't really like, you know, it's not so much about copying these bigger artists as it is just like, this is one particular type of sound. And if you want to sound like these types of tracks, like, this is the type of stuff that you have to do. So that's the first thing, would be writing something in a minor key. The second thing I would say here is thinking about the rhythm while you're writing your tracks. So what I mean by this would be like, say we have that melody that I just had, right? We got just F sharp, or F, G sharp, C, and then C sharp. So you can see I've got that kind of syncopated there. And it's a little bit more interesting because of the syncopation versus if I just do this. Like, let's say we just do straight eighth notes. You know, there's not as much interest there as like this. So yeah, you can hear, and you can even get like more creative with it too. Like if you do something maybe like this. You know, you can hear by just having that rhythm, and also with like the delay on the synth and stuff, we get a lot more of this kind of vibe because simply put, there's just more energy going on here. You know, compared to when we just had like, it just doesn't have the same amount of energy compared to that. It's all about making it like more exciting to listen to and not just having like kind of meandering. It's like, the way I like to put it to people a lot, like on my feedback streams and stuff, is like, you know, you could, if you're giving a speech, you can either talk like this and say, hey guys, it's Julian, today I'm going to teach you about this. Or you can talk like this, and you can be very animated and exciting and have something to pay attention to and grab people's attention. And it's like, that's what you want to think about here. This is what this is doing, is it's taking it from, hey guys, this is Julian, to, hey, it's Julian, today I'm going to teach you about this. So, yeah, that's kind of the idea with that one. The next thing I would say, the next big tip I've learned with this is splitting across the octaves. And what I mean by this is like, so when we started, for example, I wrote in an F minor chord. I just walked up the chord like that, right? Now, that is one way to do it. That is definitely an F minor chord, no question. But what you can also do is you can take notes and kind of put them in like octaves either up or down, and then kind of split up the chord in different arrangements than you usually would have. So what I mean by this would be like, let's say we put this G sharp up an octave. Now the chord is actually walking up F to C. And then the G sharp is the note that you hear the most. And you'll see too, like, okay, let's say I'll put in an F minor chord over here. So listen to this. And then listen to this. That second one sounds like it has a lot more vibe to it and a lot more character and a lot more feeling because of that minor third being the highest note there. So it's like, this does make a big difference, and it's also just cool to play with the synth too. It's like when you have like a kind of big, like juicy saw wave synth like this, you know, you want to spread it out across the octaves. Like you can even do more like this because you can hear you get. You know, like those deep bass notes and the high notes. It almost adds more feeling to the melody, I feel like. Like it almost gives it more of that like kind of somber, ethereal feeling. And to go with this, you can even do stuff like this too. Like maybe you could do like if you have two notes like that, like doing 16th notes, split them across the octaves. Or even like here, you can get really creative with it too. Like these two notes, which were did it just one half step apart, just put the first one up an octave. This is where the melody really starts to come to life. And what you can also do too is like, say you have this melody and you want to like put it through different parts of your track. Maybe you could have like in one part, it'll all be in the same octave like this. Or maybe, you know, you could have it split a little bit like that, perhaps. But then later in the track, then you go to the one we just made. And you can hear it's the same melody, but all of a sudden it's something completely new. And then once you start to pair that with like filter automation and stuff like that, you can hear like there's a lot of capabilities, and it's really simple. We're just starting from a minor chord here and just kind of going with notes in the minor scale. I recommend you get very familiar with minor scales and how they work and like how it's kind of giving that feeling. Like don't just think about like, okay, minor equals sad, but try to think about like what about it is doing that. Like for example here, like going from C to C sharp, which is a very, very minor key thing. That half step after hearing this one to this one and then hearing that half step difference there, that to me is part of what gives it kind of like a like sadder, and like I said, more like kind of, I guess you could say, melancholic sort of feel. But yeah, and these tips are pretty universal as well. You know, you can use these to write bass lines in the style. You can write these to write pads in the style. A lot of times I'll make a pad where it kind of is playing a melody. Like it'll start with a chord, and then maybe one of the notes will move up, and then another note will move, and like stuff like that. Like you can really do a lot with this. I think that this is really like a good foundational building block for a lot of stuff in melodic techno and really techno and dance music in general. So that is it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Like I said, just wanted to give you some simple tips that I learned listening to these tracks and making these kind of tracks. And yeah, thank you so much, everybody. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Thanks again, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.